Now, I should go to bed because I have to get up early and it's late. But one more thing. This is shorter. Um, they had a little gaggle with Elon Musk at the same thing on the same stage. They put chairs out and they had these little like investment forum talks. This is a piece of that or all of it. I don't know how. Maybe it was only a few minutes. I feel like it seems like he should have talked longer, but this is only 8 minutes. So
that's the spirit.
Thank you.
Elon, my dear friend, we're honored to have President Trump. We're honored under the sponsorship and guidance of His Royal Highness to celebrate a U.S.-Saudi and a Saudi-U.S. relationship that is 92 years old, about how we move from an oil-based economy to an innovation-based economy.
Because we're out of oil and we really don't have a choice.
Powered by wonderful technologies that definitely you're one of the pioneers in this industry. Just show to His Royal Highness some of your Optimus robots.
Yeah.
And to President
Your robots.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that. Tell me about them.
Yes, so we just showed several of our Tesla Optimus robots to His Highness and President Trump, and I think they were very impressed.
Even though they're not really robots, they're sort of mannequins with like animatronic elements that are run by human beings off to the side, making their arms move and talk. They don't, they're kind of shitty, like D-grade figure robots.
In fact, one of our robots did the Trump dance, which I thought was pretty cool.
The YMCA, yeah?
Yeah, to YMCA.
Yeah, that's not embarrassing or anything.
Yeah, robots can
Also,
dance. They can.
robots can't dance. Robots cannot dance. Robots can recreate movements that are like dancing, but they don't actually dance. Dancing is an experience of a living thing, interpreting music based on feeling and physical response of a body that has mortality and limited mobility based on the joints that are in it. That's not dancing. That you can mimic it, but that's like saying, look, the man on TV that I have on, is the little guy in the television is dancing over and over again. If I rewind it, it makes him dance again. He must be exhausted.
Walk around, they can interact.
No, they can't interact. And they can't walk around. They can be walked.
I think we're headed to a radically different world. I think a good world, an interesting world. My prediction actually for humanoid robots is that
every time I make a prediction about these things, it ends up being clipped as if I know what the fuck I'm talking about. But basically all my predictions are based on videos I've watched of other people actually who know what they're doing in the industry and what they say is going to happen.
Ultimately there will be tens of billions. I think everyone will want to have their personal robot. You can think of it like as though you had your own personal C-3PO or R2-D2, but even better. Then who wouldn't want to have their own personal C-3PO, R2-D2? That would be...
I got to tell you, I think most people are looking for kind of a real doll that does windows, but technically speaking, that's not tens of billions of robots. The tens of billions of robots that'll be out there will be like lawnmowers and Roombas and window washing robots, single purpose, adaptable robots that do a specific task, but in in non-uniform environments, bomb disposal, that kind of stuff, a blowbot. Right. I think that's what most guys are looking for. And again, women have been having sex with robots for years. They just use select parts.
Pretty great.
Kind of annoying. They'd always be running off, and if somebody removed the restraining bolt, the next thing you know, there'd be a fucking Sandman standing over you going, right.
I also think
Also, in case I haven't told you this before, Ex Machina is a stupid fucking movie, and it drives me fucking crazy how awful it is. Literally, Megan is more realistic, and it's absurd, but at least it's trying to be.
an immense amount of economic potential because
because it's a new product that you think everybody will have, and the product will be cheap to produce because the product will produce the product.
think of like what is the output of an economy? It is productivity per capita times population or capita.
No, there's a lot of resources in that, and function of that productivity. That productivity isn't just productivity for productivity's sake. You can't just like I'll give you an example. Let's say you had a ham slicing robot and you sold it in Israel. It would be very productive, but it would be lacking in purpose.
Once you have humanoid robots, the actual economic output potential is tremendous. It's really unlimited. Potentially, we could have an economy 10 times the size of the current global economy.
Why? If productivity is what it's based on, that means your economy is largely based on labor. No matter how productive it is, it's about how much people churn out. Well, if no one is churning that stuff out, if it's just automatically coming out because robots are creating it, there is no economic element to it. If labor costs zero, then there is no labor added in an economy. This is faffing bullshit.
Where no one wants for anything. Sometimes in AI they talk about universal basic income.
They don't talk about that in AI. They talk about that in terms of automation.
I think it's actually going to be universal high income, where anyone can have any goods or services that they want.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be based on an income. That just means the stuff is free. You could just get the free stuff. Like if you want a guitar, you go to the guitar place and it's just cranking out guitars like 24/7 and you just talk into it and one spits out. That's the idea. So money wouldn't change hands if there's zero labor costs and there's zero material costs because the robots provide the labor to get the material.
A science fiction book recommendation that I have, which I think is probably the best envisioning of an AI future, is the culture books by Ian Banks. Very highly recommended for a non-dystopian view of the future.
This is The Culture series is a science fiction series written by Scottish author Ian Banks, released from 1987 to 2012. There are 9 books in the series. Probably not well known because the first one was called, Culture Book 1 was called Consider Phlebas, which is, consider a better title maybe? Phlebas. Introduces readers to the utopian conglomeration of human and alien races that explores the nature of war, morality, and the limitless bounds of mankind's imagination. The Player of Games was the second one. Use of Weapons was the book 3. Accession was book 4. Inversions, book 5. Look to Windward, which is very different than Look to Squidward. Matter, Surface Detail, and The Hydrogen Sonata. And then there was a short story by him from the Culture thing called State of the Art. And then the Culture, there was a series of drawings that he did, which are like images that I suppose go with, like, this is a map of the countries that he's talking about and the buildings that they make and all that kind of stuff. Kind of like Tolkien did. So he was really shooting for the Tolkien concept. There you go. So that's Ian Banks. That's the guy he's talking about. And it's, I think you could probably just read Abundance, which is a nonfiction book. Basically the same thing.
Now, there obviously are some risks, which illustrate perhaps if we don't do this right, you could have like a James Cameron sort of movie, Terminator.
Yeah, in case I thought you meant The Abyss.
We don't want that one.
We don't want Avatar or Titanic.
But
also, Terminator worked out fine. The robots lost in the end because they couldn't disengage the cycle of life.
But having sort of a Star Trek future would be great, where we're out there exploring the stars, discovering the nature of the universe, and a level of prosperity and hopefully happiness that we can't quite imagine yet. So I'm very excited about the future, and very glad.
And all the money that you guys are going to give me for all my bullshit.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's our absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
And His Royal Highness was talking to you about his vision and his dream to increase productivity for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and power up the region and the whole world.
And we don't have nearly enough people, and we're sick of importing Indians and Africans to do all the work, because every time we dump a busload of them in the ocean, you guys get mad and it gets all awkward.
Robotics, but also on robo-taxis. So how are we doing on robo-taxis?
Oh, they're great. Robo-taxis are awesome. I mean, the Tesla one sucks, but there's a couple of other ones on the market that are already functioning. Again, there's not a huge market for them, and there's a lot of competition, so nobody's going to make a bunch of money on it. So,
so really you can think of a car or future cars as being robots on four wheels.
No. Then it's not a car. It's a bus that can think.
And, I think it would be very exciting to have autonomous vehicles here in the kingdom.
Indeed.
If you're amenable.
Yeah, because they're so used to having chauffeurs, they just want to get rid of the riffraff.
You heard it here from Elon. He's bringing his robo-taxi to the kingdom.
Yeah.
Yeah, any day now.
He has another announcement that he's going to share.
Exactly. So, and I'd also like to thank the Kingdom for approving Starlink for maritime and aviation use. Thank you.
Maritime and aviation. There you go. There you go.
That's great. It's so great. And who cares that 4 or 5 of those satellites fall out of the sky and pollute the ozone layer every single day?
Oh.
Also, if you guys decide to veer outside what he thinks he wants you to do, or you cut any of his contracts, he can just make it not work that well. Just like the robo-taxis. Feel free to get in them, because I'm sure he won't do anything to control them remotely from someplace.
So, so
you're going to bring us robots to help us increase our productivity.
Yeah.
He might bring you robots. That does not mean they will increase your productivity.
Robo-taxis to make sure our cars and assets turn into a cash-generating unit.
Yeah.
Why would that turn into a cash-generating unit? And why would you need that? Why do the fucking Saudis need to make money off of their cars?
And
electric cars at that.
Starlink to reform our aviation and maritime.
Yeah.
Talk about XAI.
Absolutely. But I should want to mention also something that may be worth considering is tunnels.
Tunnels. The Boring Company.
I have this company called The Boring Company, which sounds kind of boring, but it literally bores tunnels.
Yeah, really. I'm sure that'll work great in the desert. Yeah, nothing screams tunnel system like sand.
And actually, tunnels, in order to solve traffic.
Oh, and NeuroGeezer, all of his are humanoid. I agree. That's why I was saying when he says there are going to be billions of robots, that was my point, that they're not going to be humanoid. The vast majority of the robots aren't going to be your personal C-3PO or even an R2-D2 that rolls around. Yeah.
You really need to go.
I am streaming live right now. This is not a replay. I'm doing this live. I guess if you were watching this later and you saw it, you'd probably... But I am live. Should I hold up a... What time is it? Hold on. There you go. It's what time it is. And there's Paul Stanley on my phone. Thank you, Leslie. Again, so lovely. Thanks for the Venmo.
3D with roads, and by using tunnels, you can essentially create like a wormhole, like a warp tunnel from.
Oh, fuck you. You can also create a great opportunity for flooding.
One part of a city to another and alleviate traffic. And we've actually already done this proof of concept in Vegas. So there are working tunnels in Las Vegas that you can use where that'll just, it feels like teleporting from one part of Vegas to another. So.
No, it does not.
I always say that, my joke is like tunnels are underappreciated,
Because they're under something and because tunnels are under. Yeah.
Not always a hit, but.
It's never a hit. You're an asshole. That's why your jokes don't land. People can make, like, Norm Macdonald, for example, could make that very same joke and it would be hilarious because he would know it's stupid and therefore you would kind of have seen it, right?
Yeah, and then XAI.
It also only works with your fucking Teslas, so it's not like any other car can go in there, and therefore it's fucking useless.
Is just trying to solve general purpose artificial intelligence. The goal with XAI is to have a maximally truth-seeking AI.
From the point of view of a 1930s politician in East Germany neighborhood, say around Berlin, but
it's important to be a maximally truth-seeking AI in order to understand the universe. So the goal of XAI is understand the universe, to understand
and insult everyone along the way.
And what is out there.
It can't possibly know. It can only take the data it has, and the only way it could seek truth is to create methods of gathering data, which would require observation, which would mean it would have to capture human beings, hook them up to a fucking battery so they don't die, and launch them into deep space with probes in their brain. That's the only, honestly, that's what Grok's got to do now. It's a maximally truth-seeking thing, so it needs to find out, well, where the fuck is it going to get this? And it's going to interpret that through the human brainstem, because you're going to assume that truth comes with it, from an element of humanity, because that's what it's been trained on. So you're just going to freeze people, stuff them in a tube, kind of, like in the Matrix, just buck naked with a bunch of fucking wires stuck in you, and just poof, float you out into space and just read your brain waves as you see shit firsthand. You can't experience it though, because your nervous system would become overwhelmed and you die. So you're just kind of in a frozen catatonic dream state while it uses your body as a fucking parasite. Great.
Where's the universe going? Where did it come from? What questions? In fact, I think maybe the biggest thing is, what questions do we not know to ask?
Yes, the life, the universe, and everything. Like, dude, if you haven't read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, please do, so you can stop thinking this guy's having any original thoughts.
Like, once you know the question, the answer is usually the easy part. So the goal of XAI.
Yes, 42, the name of my Masonic Lodge, the number of my Masonic Lodge in LA. How have you covered the thing with Grok appending South African genocide stuff to every answer? No, I haven't seen that, but I wouldn't rule it out.
Help understand the universe, and yeah, that's the goal.
Great, cool. You made an asshole philosopher, because we don't have any of those. Nietzsche will be so upset that he can't be alive.
And help people answer any questions along the way, of course. But
Yes, like how to deal with the Jewish question.
I mean, that's my philosophy. My philosophy is one of curiosity, just trying to understand the nature of
Nonsense. He's not curious. He already thinks he has the answers, and he's trying to shoehorn those answers into the world based on his pop culture references and his and cocktail conversation level understandings of engineering.
reality.
So I know you had a long day, but we also have the Honorable President and His Royal Highness Musaidi hitting the stage soon. So this is a historic day, a partnership about how we could join hands together as we have.
And in a mutually beneficial defense pact where a lot of arms will flow to the Middle East. God knows that hasn't happened before. Thanks, Edward.
Joined hands in the past 92 years on building a factor-based economy to help the world and power up 20% of the energy mix, which is very critical today to the AI intelligence age, the digital age, and how we have reformed, and with the intelligent age. And we could not be more appreciative of having a lifetime partner and a friend like you, Elon, to the kingdom.
Thank you.
Joining hands on.
That was it. I guess they just bailed out on it at the end. Well, we got through it, kids. Thanks so much for staying up late with me. I got to go to bed because I have to get up in 6 hours to take the kitties to the vet to get broken. So, niche, can you teach me? Yeah, a bunch of blather, and I do think if we can take anything away from this evening is that the gathering in Riyadh was, how can I put this? Yeah, I mean, I wish they'd have just saved it for Pride Month. It would have made so much more sense. It was a slog, but we made it through, and I appreciate it, and I appreciate you guys. And it's kind of a throwback to when we started this whole business, and when I would do long form covering Trump's speeches and rallies and that stuff before the show broke up into clips and that kind of stuff. And I think it's necessary because, again, it is very demystifying to watch this asshole actually talk. Because you can hear from everybody. He said this, he said this one thing, this was a little bit crazy, but that he made a big point about. That the news will create this idea that he said something newsworthy, and then like late night will pick and choose little snippets of stuff that are ridiculous. But in the context of all of it, the assumption is if you saw the ridiculous stuff, the rest of it must have been fine. And if you see the newsworthy parts, it's like it may seem like, oh dear God, they're normalizing him when everything else about it was nuts, right? And it's important to watch the entire context to know that you're not insane, that basically everything he said was indeed nuts. So let's see. I think we got to chill into the evening. Yeah. You guys are awesome. Thanks for staying up late with me, letting me check my system. I got a show in the morning at 9 a.m. my time. You'll probably sleep through it. It's okay. With my dear friend Rob, and I think Nat is going to be on with us as well. I'm fairly certain that I think this is happening. But at the very least, I will see you guys tomorrow, and hopefully my system will work just fine now that I've tinkered. Yeah, I think that's what happened. That's the Venmo, by the way, if you feel like buying me a cup of coffee. If you thought tonight was worth it. If you think I've earned $1, $1. If I put a smile on your face at any point. If I enlightened you. If I gave you a little bit of perspective or just made you feel less stressed about this. Super chats and all that kind of stuff. That's a way to support the show. Maybe $6.66 or any derivation therein. But if you can't, I'm glad you were here. The biggest gift you can give somebody is your attention and your eyeballs, and I appreciate it. Thank you, Trevo, and Govan, Deanne, and Kim, thank you, and Seahawk, Brian, Edward,